Wednesday, man, those days you get back, those weeks you get back from Walt Disney World, you don't know what day it is. It's Wednesday, but this is going to be a Monday show. You guys know how it goes. We are going to be talking with Catherine out in Hawaii. It's afternoon there. It's dark here. But she's actually from close to where I'm at, from across the river. So we're going to have a good time talking about a trip back over Thanksgiving time. Yes, we are live. So settle in, get yourself a Coke Zero or a hot cocoa or whatever you choose to have in your hand. We don't care. And enjoy some Disney talk with us. We're going to do this. Episode 1815. All right. Okay. I think we got there and here. Welcome to episode 1815 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you and aloha to all of our listeners, because today we have a special guest. I'm so excited. Now, I've got to meet listeners from Hawaii. My good friend George Shaka cruised with us on one of the Be Our Guest podcast cruises. I learned a lot about Hawaii. He sent me all kinds of coffee and the sign that I have behind me here in the basement that says aloha with some lizards. It's one of my favorite things in the world. But we have another listener we're going to talk to today from out in Hawaii. Even with a huge time difference, we're making it work. So Catherine is joining us from out in the islands. Catherine, aloha. How you doing today?
Great, Mike. Doing great. Yes, you're right. It's beautifully sunny. When people ask what the weather's like in Hawaii, I'm like, it's Hawaii. It's always about 80 degrees. It doesn't matter what time of year. It's great.
So let me ask you this, because I think most people in Hawaii are transplants, from other parts of the world, other parts of the states. You're from the Midwest. You're actually from right across the river in O'Fallon, Illinois, which is, you can basically almost see Busch Stadium from O'Fallon, Illinois. So it's, 10, 15 minutes from downtown St. Louis, probably about 40 minutes from where I live in St. Charles. What's that culture adjustment like coming from the Midwest out to the islands?
Huge. I mean, I was used to those cornfields and those straight roads and flat and the extreme colds of the, really hot and then that really below zero and black ice. So that part, it was really nice, the weather. That's definitely the biggest perk out here. But I do miss open spaces, because if you say you want to go for a drive, 30 minutes, and that's about all you got. And then you're done with the island. So
I say you go for a drive, but then after a while, your tires get wet, I guess.
Yeah. So that part, but yeah, no, it's like I said, that part is great. But there's goods and bads. The thing with the military, they let you experience all different places, all different cultures. And just by the way, like for retirees, Hawaii's number one, but Scott Air Force Base in Illinois is number two. Oh, so nice. So you got to appreciate that.
I got a great picture of Scott Air Force Base flying down to Florida this past week. I used to be scared to fly, so now I always have to get a window seat, even if I have to pay the extra $40 to make sure I get on first with Southwest. And I'm videotaping the takeoff, and I'm taking pictures of the arch and Busch Stadium. And this time I got a nice one of the runways over at Scott. So that was really fun for me.
Yeah, that was good. It was good.
It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's just a bunch of runways. So it's like, we're in Belleville, or, around there. So let me ask you one other thing before we get into your trip. Is there one kind of thing that we don't talk about that people should visit maybe when they go to Hawaii where you are? Because I know people want to go see Pearl Harbor, and of course our fans want to go to Aulani. But is there kind of a hidden thing that you've discovered that maybe somebody would like to check out if you ever go over to the islands that we don't talk about?
Well, I think a lot of people don't. I mean, if you are into hikes and things like that, there are so many beautiful hikes to go on, and a lot of World War II history, like Fort Island, you can go around the island. I mean, and it's got something historical, because you can see Arizona is right next to it. U.S. Missouri, is where they signed the end of the war. You can go up and climb up Diamond Head, and there's places they call them pillboxes, where they actually set up their artillery in World War II. You can climb into all those things and on the rocks and all the hikes. So yeah, if you're, like I said, into World War II history and into, getting out there and being fit, it's definitely an outdoor place to go experience that. It's great.
Sounds good to me. All right, we'll up into your, hang on, we're getting feedback. Let me edit that out of there. 347. All right, so let's head into your Disney trip that you guys took back just a few weeks back, around Thanksgiving time. So, right here in the holiday season. Tell us when you started planning it, and you kind of had an opportunity to get to see your adult kids, and it was kind of a family reunion down in Central Florida. How'd that all come together?
Yeah, well, just a little bit, in terms like, you always fast folks, lots of trip reports I've watched, how you got into Disney and actually the first time I visited Disney World was 1975 as an 8-year-old. So, I mean, I remember riding Space Mountain, and back then I don't think they had lap belts or anything to keep you in. So, because it was a little, I remember being traumatized by it for a long time. But then we went back in 1999, just my husband and I. And then we started going in 2002 with the boys when they were only 3 and 6. And then from then on, we were just Disney fanatics. So, at least every year we've done 7 Disney cruises. We probably stayed, I did a count if you include the Swan, 18 of the resorts.
Wow.
In Disney World. We've, stayed at Alani. I think someone on your message board's going there. Alani is amazing, absolutely beautiful. So, but I just find every time, and, my boys, even though they're busy, my oldest is a police officer in Washington, D.C. It's been nonstop for him, obviously, with, the protests and things like that. So and in August, when everything was, COVID, nightmares, for some reason, I said, you know what? And I'm a DVC member. We've been one since 2003. I said, let's see if we can go down there for Thanksgiving. So the 3 of us were booked. My youngest, he was just graduated college. And then I just mentioned to my older, I said, do you think there's any way you could get off, and come down with us? And it was like, he didn't even think about it. He's like, Disney? Yeah, I'm there. So it was great that he was able to put some leave away and on the books and come down with us. So,
I love that because it gives you a chance for your family to come together because you're so distant, and I think we're distant when, I have my daughter, she's in Columbia, Missouri, 2 hours down the road. And it's like, it's hard to get together. But I mean, when you're literally, on the other side of the planet, that is a challenge, and great place to get together because, you get down there, you get to have some great meals, you get to have some fun experiences that y'all like. Now, how did you guys coordinate the planning? Because again, you didn't have any little kids to worry about, which kind of makes it nice, but more, also it's kind of more challenging because you have folks with careers and, full-time lives. So how was the planning? Like, did you guys use a lot of technology? Did you call each other a lot? What'd you do?
Well, and, Disney's made it a little more, I mean, kudos to them that they're open, but, the 60-day dining, the no fast passes, the park reservations, because I made all those as soon as I could. I went and got my tickets. And in fact, usually I do the military salute tickets, but it was just too hard to even worry about it. I said, nope, I'm going full price. I want to get these booked. And when my son, and we had, Hollywood Studios booked for the Friday after Thanksgiving. And when my son finally said, yeah, I can go, well, there were no more park reservations. And that was over 2 months out. So, and if you call, they're like, yep, we can't help you at all. The park reservation is very structured, however they've got it. So, but they said, when you get down here, see what you can do. And that's the first thing I did. As soon as I got there, I went to customer service, DVC, one of the customer service areas in Disney Springs, and they managed to get my son in. So he came with us So I was like, oh, thank you. You guys are wonderful, So just, normal Disney, hey, we'll do everything for you that we can. So, but no, I mean, and I'm a planner, and they usually leave it to mom. They know mom, as long as mom checks off all the blocks of all the favorites that they want. The only thing that you'll see me, and it's a reoccurring nightmare, kind of this like it is for you, is the rise of resistance. Mm-hmm. That they got to figure out because that system's broken.
It's better now that you don't have to be in the theme park to get the reservation. I got mine this past trip while I was out on a run before, I got up early in the morning, went on my run. I set my watch at 6:55. Okay. Beep, 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 beep. I stopped. I remember I was down by the pirate rooms at Caribbean Beach and I'm like, oh no, I hope the cell service is good down here. Cause I'm kind of distant. And then, I got in, Scott got in, we were both going at the same time cause we're linked together and we got them. And then it was nice because, then I could just go about my morning and I wasn't tied to it. Ricky had
exactly. Yeah.
You're right. I mean, it's again, we talked about this too, and we'll get into all your trip stuff, but you brought that up. So I got to bring up this point that we were kind of tied to the park that entire day. Once we got there, right? The park opened at 10. We got there at about 9:45. Park was open, did our things. We had a boarding group of like 42, something like that. So we knew it'd be like, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. So, we did all of our stuff, had our fun, but the thing was, we never stay in a park from park opening to park closing, but we did that day because the ride was down. We didn't get on until about 3:30. So we weren't going to leave. Right. Scared like, okay, well, it's going to come back up. We're going to have to go back and get back right here. So it's one of those things like, I mean, first world problem, right? That we were at a theme park the entire day, but
no, it does. It changes how you normally would do things. Yeah.
Right. We were taking a midday break and we didn't do that, but I mean, it was fine. The park hours weren't that long, but it is one of those things that we talk about how a lot of times folks are tied to their ADRs. You're locked in on that. So that's your theme park, what part of the park you might hang out in. Rise really does that to you, but it's where I love the ride. I mean, don't get me wrong, but you're right. There's some solutions still, I think, that needs to be worked out.
Yeah. And you'll even see, like in my notes, I put, where I went to Disney cast member, said, okay, how do I not beat this system? But what do I do? Because then we were trying to get on the 2:00, and that didn't work either. So I don't know. But, well, as we get into the park we went to Universal Studios, and they have popular rides, and they use a virtual line technology where you scan the QR code, and then you try and board a group that's from 10 to 1 or whatever it is. And once they fill up, that seemed to work a lot better. So I don't know why Disney can't find something like that for the Rise.
Yeah, I know they're asking surveys, so I think that they're looking into.
Yeah, Universal. That's what I say. Universal sent us a survey and specifically asked us, how do we compare to Disney? In terms of getting the ride, all COVID, all of that. All that stuff. I thought was very interesting for Universal to do.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about your stays. Now, you did a split stay, so you guys stayed at the Riviera and Copper Creek. So let's kind of hit the highlights of both resorts first while we're in the resort area. So I stayed at the Riv. I got to stay at Caribbean Beach. So it's kind of a, they're on the same campus. They share, a running path, and you can get back and forth. I love the Riviera, and I especially love Primo Piatto. I'm still dreaming about that, but lots of staying there.
Well, I said, we've been, like I said, DVC members since 2003, but we actually sold our Animal Kingdom to become our Riviera DVC members. And I just love that resort. I'm like Pam, I could live there for a year. I mean, if I was allowed to, I'd live there for a year. It's just such a different vibe. Even though you're in Disney, it's not in your face. As soon as you walk in the lobby, it's just luxurious, but elegant. I mean, it even smells good. They must pump perfume or something in there and then the rooms, I mean, just the touches to the backsplash, to the carpets, to the paintings, and the rooms are giant. I mean, and the parquet floors and the balconies, and of course, I mean, the Skyliner is just a no-brainer there. That makes it even better, but just so pleasantly surprised. Well, so happy with our purchase since we really did buy into it. Their membership, but yeah, it's just great. We loved it. The food, I mean, I wish I could have gotten to Topolino's. We couldn't get into that, but we certainly ate at the cafe and like I said, at Primo Piatto's. Yeah, that one.
Breakfast sandwich is so good there. That ham and cheese with the egg on top. Oh my gosh, I just keep thinking about it.
Blueberry pancakes.
Yes, that's what Scott had that. He raved. Now, one thing I will say too about the rooms at the Riviera was, and again, I know this is more popular, more common in DVC resorts, which I don't stay in a lot, is that they're super efficient, right? Like the bed I slept on that one night when I stayed with the Gardeners the first night, because I went down in the middle of the afternoon, like pulls out of the wall. There's actually art on the wall. There's this cool picture of Beauty and the Beast. Kind of looked like it was stained glass. I know it wasn't stained glass, but it was in that style. Then you just pull on this handle. You don't even have to move the couch. Yeah. The couch just disappears. There's a double bed. And then, under the TV, you pull this other handle, and a twin bed pops out. I mean, you didn't even know it was there. It's great.
Yeah, it was great. And it took four adults to try and figure out how you turn the damn light off in the bed, because it was right inside the building. I think it was like the Peter Pan building or something. We're like, how do you turn the light off? I was almost going to call down and say, how do you turn the light off? So, I mean, obviously it's for children, not adults to figure out. I don't know. But
that's good. It took me two days to figure out how to work the elevators at Coronado Springs and the new tower. So it's all right.
Well, I will say later on at Copper Creek, we were kind of nice. And at Copper Creek, we let both sons actually have the big bed because we had another one bedroom, and we slept on the couch, my husband and I. No. Riviera, the bed, since it comes out of the wall, it's flat. So there's no creases like you get in a regular couch. But at Copper Creek, no, that was a bad idea. So
I slept if you wanted the Riviera. It was I was tired. I could sleep anywhere though. But yeah, it was super comfortable. Okay, let's talk Copper Creek. Okay, if you don't know, that's on the campus of the Wilderness Lodge, the new section there. You have Boulder Ridge and Copper Creek. You guys stayed there, so this is very, very new. Well, not as new as the Riviera, I guess, but you were at two of the newest resorts at Walt Disney World. So what were your thoughts over there? Very different feel.
Yeah, and that's why we did it. I mean, I love Wilderness. We've been staying there since 2002. And, I've stayed in Boulder Creek, and we thought, well, let's go to Copper Creek because it's newer. But maybe because we, just been to the Riviera, the rooms were just much smaller from what we were, had just come from. Now, of course, Wilderness itself is beautiful. The lot, just walking in I mean, I video just walking into that the lodge there because it's just so beautiful, the tree and everything. But I was kind of disappointed. I didn't think near as nice of finishes and things like that as the Riviera. So it's going to be really hard. I'm kind of like your daughter. That's the only place I'm going to ever want to stay now. So, but we'll just see. We'll see what I can afford in the future. But you can't. It's still Copper Creek. It's great because you're right there for the boat to Magic Kingdom. So that's certainly the best perk of it right now. So
yeah, and you did really smart in that you guys did it hand. That's feeding back with that. Let me get that out of there. 14. I don't know why it's doing that every once in a while. So you did one of the things that I think is really, really smart, though, is that you had two different experiences at the resorts, but also, if you say you're a huge fan of the Riviera, as I am now, and as Mallory just keeps asking me to stay there many times, where I don't think we're ever going to go down and stay at the Riviera for 7 nights, but I think what we might do is, stay at Caribbean Beach for 5 nights and then do the last 2 nights at the Riviera, or possibly 3. And then go to the Riviera because it's a nice way to end the trip. It gives you something to look forward to as the trip starts to wind down. And in a couple nights you can kind of get that full taste. You can eat at the restaurant. Right. I haven't been to Topolino's either. Everybody else I think I know has, but there's still things to do, and I like that. So split stays like you did, I think kind of gives you like almost 2 vacation experiences in one. I mean, do you guys normally do splits?
Yeah, we do. We do it a lot. I mean, like say, we stayed at Wilderness, but like Grand Floridian when it first came out, the DVC, we splurged there and then went somewhere else. But I think anytime there's just a new resort, we like to kind of check it out. We don't seem to have any favorite, so that's why I guess we've had so many, because we're like, hey, well, let's try this one now. Let's do this one now. But that Skyliner, that is, as constantly said, is a game changer. So, as long as it's working, because we went down there when I was first starting and it was broken, and then we had to take like the bus back, and it took us around the world, it seemed like, by the time we got back to our resort. So
right. It's so funny. Deluxe resorts tend to have the worst bus service, which is so backwards. The value resorts tend to have the best buses. So it's a weird thing, but you're right. Skyliner's awesome because, this past Sunday when I was catching my flight home, I had to be on Magical Express at 2:45. I walked out of the International Gateway at 2:15 and still was able to pick up my luggage at Bell Services and get on my bus. That's how. Now, I don't recommend people cut it that close, but
weren't you getting an eclair or something? If I heard right.
Exactly, because I was going to leave at 2, and then there was a little bit of a line in the patisserie, so I was like, yeah. Do I risk missing Magical Express for this eclair? Yes, I do, because I want when I get home. I barely with like 2 minutes to spare, but it was all good. Okay, so let's talk about time in the theme park. So you guys mentioned you guys like to go around and see everything. So we can't like hit every single, day ride and all that stuff. But what are the highlights? Looking back a month later, what are the things you remember?
Well, we had not been able to, I like to go down. I usually like to wait until there's a couple new rides out. So obviously, I guess Epcot, that was our first day. So Epcot, all we did is eat. I mean, it was Thanksgiving, and I was kind of bummed because they announced the festival, the Christmas, all of that didn't start till the day after Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't change our park reservations because then you lose your Hollywood reservations and you weren't getting that back. So that's when you're like, dang, I really miss park hopping and things like that. But I think the only thing we all had like these things we wanted to do at Epcot, like for eating. Like I wanted my margarita and guacamole. The boys wanted their beer in Germany. My other son wanted his ramen in Japan. And then we all wanted a Scotch egg and another beer in England. And this was all before Thanksgiving in France. So, because France was all I could get by the time 60 days, I mean, that was all that was left. So
I've celebrated 2 4th of Julys at the Chefs de France. It's so weird. I don't know why. It's because we can get an ADR so we can watch the fireworks. In normal years, twice I've eaten there in San Angelo and another 4th of July. I never eat at an American place on the 4th of July for some reason.
I really wanted to do the Regal Beagle, the barbecue place. Yeah. So but we did get to still ride Soarin'. Test Track was down, but the one thing I had never ridden, I don't know how I've always missed it, was Figment. I had never ridden it. As many years as I've been going, I never knew there was even a ride in that building. Huh. So, and I've been in that building because that's where DVC lounge is. But I mean, it was as corny, and I loved it. It was just so quintessential Disney. It was great.
You missed out on
So,
Castleton again. That used to be the best ride ever until I took it back out. The
yeah,
best.
yeah. I think we did see that years and years ago. I mean, that's how long we've been going. So I mean, my kids are bummed, even though they're looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy Rewind. We loved Ellen in the Universe or whatever. That was the great place if you wanted to like sleep for 30 minutes in the cool. That's where you went. On that big thing, and it's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah. So our day of Epcot, pretty much, like I said, was just eating and enjoying Thanksgiving. So. And then just, coming back, jumping on that Skyliner, and then, and the pools and stuff were just great at Riviera. And I think somebody mentioned the hot tubs. Hot tubs are open. We had hot tubs at both of our.
I thought I saw people in hot tubs. Pam said they weren't, but I think they are because I saw people in them. But
Yeah. We definitely saw them. And in fact, just back to to Wilderness or Copper Creek. The one night we went into the pool, there was the four of us. We were the only ones in the pool for like 30 minutes. The only ones. I mean, I'm like, this is what I want in my backyard. This size pool. This is awesome. So, but yeah, then we went on to, we wanted to get to bed early because we wanted to do that Rise of the Resistance Nightmare that started at 7 a.m. But the next morning, but I found out that, I thought my son and I were trying it from both of our phones, but we were using just my password and stuff. Don't do that. They said that just the system crashes against itself. If you got two people trying to do the same thing, you have to have totally different accounts if you're going to try it that way. So we didn't get passes that morning, obviously. So, but we headed to Hollywood. No rush. It said it opened at 10, but I think they open up like earlier just to start funneling people in to get the lines going.
Yeah.
So we specifically wanted to go there also for the new Mickey Mouse or the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Train. And especially because we used to love the old ride. That's where my son, got hooked on aliens and stuff, seeing that in the old ride. But I love the ride was great. I mean, all the line, I think people said before, even though they'll say like an hour for a line, they're all about 20 minutes less than that. They seem to be, I think to try and scare you off. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I saw it consistently this past weekend too. You would wait probably, I would guess, between 60 and 70% of the wait time ish.
Yeah. The only one I put later was the Snow White Mine Train. That one we definitely waited a long time. But otherwise, the Mickey Man, I loved that ride. I mean, it was too short. I thought, it just went. I'm like, God, this used to be a really long ride, but it's just eye candy. I mean, you're just like I felt like a kid just watching all the stuff going on the screen, and then dancing with Daisy Duck and stuff was just awesome. Yeah, it was great.
1, 2.
Yeah.
You cannot not laugh in that room because it's genius, because I guess it's like a dance studio with all the mirrors up front, because you see like, you'll see some dude that you can tell that guy is not a Disney fan, but here he is like in his car. Whoa, going back it looks like he's dancing. I love watching the other cars in that room. I try not to give any spoilers, but yeah, it's a fun ride. But I agree. I mean, it is a lot quicker than Great Movie Ride was like epic. It was long.
Yeah. So I don't know what they did with all these rooms, because I'm looking going, well, did this used to be where the city was? Is this where the people swimming were? It was hard to tell, but they did a great job. So obviously we had already seen Star Wars Land, so we kind of knew, what to expect. My husband had never been there. So when he first walks in, you like to see someone else's reaction that's never seen it. And he was just like, he just couldn't believe it walking by, these full size, X-Wing fighters and things like that. So, he loved that. So we were able to ride Millennium Falcon, and because they're doing the social distancing, we had a family of 4, so we got the cockpit to ourselves. So the boys could finally be the pilots and, and not complain when someone else wasn't doing it right, because they were the ones doing it. I didn't think it was the same. COVID does have an impact though, because, obviously they limit how many people can go into a little market area. So you don't get that same vibe that you did, pre-COVID, because they're like, okay, only 2 people in the store. You can't say, hey, this looks like a cool store, I think I'll go in. You got a line, and sometimes you might wait 10 or 15 minutes to get into that store.
And that's a good tip to throw to people that are going down here, in this, while this pandemic is still going on. They have social they call it physical distancing. Disney does. They've told me that. And so, they have the physical distancing in place and capacity issues, that you got to really kind of start to think that when you go to a store or go to a smaller common area that you may have to queue up just to get into that area. Cause I'm used to, if I want to get, a Coke Zero, I'll just run into a shop. And like, for example,
Right.
the Riviera has a really small little gift shop. It's a nice little gift shop, but
Mhm.
I just want to we were going over to the live show on Saturday, and I was going to grab 3 bottles of Coke Zero just to, take with me over there to have at the table, and I had to queue up behind 4 people just to get in the store just to buy a couple of bottles of Coke. So, I mean, it wasn't a big deal. I was in, 5 minutes I was in there, but it's just one of those things that, like mouse gear, you got to queue up to get in mouse gear at Epcot. So you just
my God. Or World of Disney. World of Disney was like 30 minutes. Oh my gosh. It was around the freaking Disney Springs before you could get inside. But I mean, the good thing is that listening to the trip reports, listening to the listener, listening to everybody, we were prepared for that. I don't know if my family was as much as I was, but I already knew, okay, I'm going to have a line, but you know what? I'm in Disney World. I don't care.
That's what I said.
I mean, there was so many, cause I'm as fanatical, I guess, as the people that listen to these podcasts. I watch somebody else just walking through the park on YouTube. Yep. They're just walking around, not even saying anything, but I'm like, okay, but they're in Disney. And it's just awesome. So I didn't care. I mean, I remember I actually took the time, and I think that's because you don't have the fast passes, all that, in Epcot to sit and tell myself, I'm in Epcot. I am walking in Epcot. I'm walking through Morocco, and I'm walking, and I'm like, because I know next week I won't be doing this. So I am going to just savor every last minute, I get with this. So, and I think we all did, all 4 of us, we really slowed down and just, enjoy the experience more than we probably ever did before.
Well, plus, I mean, not only to celebrate Thanksgiving. I don't know why it does that. Let me get that. It just does every once in a while, like every 10 minutes. But also what it does for you guys, I mean, celebrating Thanksgiving is you guys are physically all together, and you're together in a place that you all really appreciate. Like it's different if you, especially in 2020, where a lot of families, maybe you're going to Walt Disney World and you've been cooped up in the same house 24/7 since March. You're probably like, why don't you go over to the hotel and swim? I'm going to go to Epcot. Why don't you go up to, I'll be in World Showcase. You go to Future World. But I mean, I would imagine that, especially because I know how it is, Paige is now 24. And so we don't see her as much. So it's, it is an opportunity to not only be in your favorite place, but to be with your kids when they get a little bit older and they get super busy. It's you got to stay you get. Yeah.
I mean, and for my son, he works in, like I said, one of the most probably dangerous areas of Washington, D.C. And I'm like, could this be any further different from what you're used to, or, what you've been dealing with? And he's like, it's perfect. He said, it was just what I needed. He probably needed a little longer, but by the 2nd or 3rd day, he was really starting to unwind and, not think about work and things like that. So, and that's why I love Disney. I mean, as soon as you walk in, as soon as you go through those gates that say, coming through the road, you're like, it's like everything just goes away. You're like, okay, this is it. I'm on vacation mode.
Check your worries for a few days and let's move on. Now, here, I do want to ask you about something, because you mentioned about going over to Universal because you guys are Harry Potter fans. So you kind of compared and contrasted that. But as a hardcore Disney fan, DVC member, you go to all the resorts and so forth. What was your experience? Like, how would you prepare somebody that wants to do the same? Harry Potter fan, maybe they've never been over to Islands to, see the new Hagrid's
motorcycle ride. Yeah. Well, the thing is, to get in an hour early to have their magic hours or whatever, it's similar. You have to stay on their resort. But the thing is, it was a minimum of 5 or 6 night stays. So you had to stay there to get that. So that's why, even though we got there super early, the park had already been open an hour. But, just, you really got to be on top of it, pay the preferred parking if you really want to make sure you're there on time. But I thought it was actually smoother getting in there than when it was pre-COVID. Universal, I was really pleasantly surprised. And as you get on the ride, they squirt sanitizer in your hand. Like Disney, they leave it kind of to your discretion, hoping that you'll put it on before and after. But at Universal, oh no, you're not getting on the ride till they squirt that stuff in your hand. So, I mean, for me, it's just Harry Potter. That's all I wanted to do. We didn't even go to the other park, but I even gave up an Animal Kingdom day because I really wanted to ride that ride. But yeah, it's definitely doable. But that's why we stayed kind of closer right off Highway 4 so that we could get there, get what we needed done, and then get out of there and come back to our magical place. I always feel like it's like Disney's like my safe place. Like, I got to go back to the resort now. Let's get back there.
That's how I used to feel. We always have a beach day. We go to Cocoa Beach to the Space Coast because I like, I'm a huge space nut, and Apollo, Mercury, Gemini programs, all that. I devour all those books, and I just like being there, just like going down, US 1 right there and to
Yep.
see, VAB across the causeway and stuff like. I just love going to Cocoa Beach. It's just awesome. But it was always that thing, I go over there, but I was like, okay, well, it's 5 o'clock in the evening. Got to get back, got to get back inside that bubble,
Yeah, it's a bubble because we did drive around. I can't remember where we went. Oh, we had to go get our COVID test because, of course, flying back to Hawaii, we have to have our COVID test, and I can only find one Walgreens. Even though it was in Kissimmee, it seemed like it was miles away, and really different once you start to get outside the areas, outside Disney. There's no more pretty palm trees and things like that. It's more where the real people live. So.
You got the Gator and the helicopter ride for $15, which we saw.
Yeah, and they were running too. There was quite a few of them up there running. They're back. Orlando looked pretty darn busy. The freeways were busy again. So I'm really happy for the state, even though I know Disney's still laying off people. I'm really glad that the things are moving forward. So.
Right. I told Scott because we passed that helicopter place. They're $15 for a helicopter ride. I said I'll pay $30 not to get on that helicopter. So I don't want to go on a helicopter. It's only $15.
Yeah, I recommend. I since you're not a big flying fan, helicopters you usually don't have as near as much luck. You're coming down when that thing comes down. So
yeah, they're not going to glide very much. I don't think so. Yeah.
But there's a lot of things, and I know you guys have talked about that. I hope that they keep after COVID, like the way they're doing the parades or the cavalcades, whatever they are, because they're so random and they're such a nice surprise now when you don't know they're coming. We were waiting for our Liberty Tavern reservation, which I'd never been there, and it was amazing. I wish I could have had Thanksgiving there because, oh my gosh, that food was just amazing. But I think there was 3 or 4 that went through. Santa went through, all those went through while we were sitting there waiting, and yet it wasn't crowded because no one knew they were coming. So it was great. I saw Elsa twice. It was great back in Epcot. So I think some of those things maybe Disney will keep. I hope.
I think so too. But what I saw this past weekend is that I think that I don't know if it's just the holidays or if people are getting wiser to the cavalcades because the longer they're around, there's more social media coverage of them, blogs and vlogs and all that. But there were a couple times on Main Street where it was when Santa was coming down Main Street at the Magic Kingdom and had the reindeer dancing in front, and some elves cousins and stuff. And it was only like 1 or 2 floats, but the thing was Santa was coming down Main Street USA, like everybody was like, whoosh, to the sidewalks, and social distancing was semi-questionable for that couple of minutes, but it's one of those things that Disney can't. It's hard to. It's like a magnet, right? It's Santa Claus.
Yeah.
It's USA. There's very few people that are gonna be like, I don't want to see that. It's just like you are at Walt Disney World at the holidays. That is what you want to go get that picture to show, show everybody you were there. So it's a challenge, but I think that
that's true.
Right now, everybody's so hungry for anything they can get that I think we're just, it's like a moth to the flame. It's like, oh, something cool. I haven't got to see anything cool since March, and you're just like,
yeah.
So,
and that's the one thing too. The people I will say about the folks that are there, though, they're mostly diehard Disney fans, and they'll endure whatever it takes to be there. And everybody was very courteous and really respected the social distancing, because they're like, hey, we don't want to break the rules because we don't want them to close down. We don't want something to happen and they close this place like they've done Hong Kong Disney 3 times now. So, and by the way, we've been to Hong Kong and we've been to Tokyo Disney because we're just that pathetic. So
that's awesome. That's great.
We've been to Marceline, Missouri. Have you been there?
Yes, I spent the night in the Uptown Theater in the bed and breakfast, and I got to operate the movie projector that Walt showed the great locomotive chase, or one of the movies he premiered.
Well, yeah. Anybody who's a true Disney fan and you can make that journey, it's worth it. Seeing the train station that he came off as a 5-year-old.
Yep.
And the lake and the house, the barn where I swear that's the one place I really felt his presence. So I just wanted to put a shout out to Marceline because, as you know, the town's pretty sad.
Yes.
So,
you're not going to see Walt Disney World when you get to Marceline. You're going to be like, this is it. I'm from Missouri, and I was like, this is it. I've seen small towns. I
think they had a Dairy Queen. I think that was about it.
You had to go down the road about 10 minutes. Yeah, exactly. But I will say my favorite thing at Marceline real quick was that I got to sit under the dreaming tree because it unfortunately did get knocked down a couple of years after that. It's not there anymore.
But they've replanted it. They took a seedling from it and replanted it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I got the old dead one because it was dead at the time. I mean, it was
Uh,
way out, but yeah, I got my picture and I was like, God, Walt sat here. Like that was so cool. I mean,
that was the first time I got goosebumps ever. All the writing on the barn that everybody's, best wishes and thank you, Disney. I mean, I get choked up about thinking about it. That's so I really thank the man. I always wonder if he's looking down, how proud he must be to see what has spun off from his, the idea in his brain. So
yeah, he's touched a lot of lives. I mean, definitely steered the direction of this kid from Missouri. I can tell you that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So,
Okay, I want to hit because you guys did some amazing dining, and I'm scared we're going to run out of time. So, talk to us about some of the places you guys. You mentioned Liberty Tree. I agree, perfect Thanksgiving type meal. But you guys also went some really other cool places. So, tell us about some of your favorites.
Well, we've been to Homecoming now second time. My husband hadn't been there before, but based listening to you guys again, we went and because those biscuits are to die for. And it's so weird because the waitress that assisted us, she went to the same high school as my boys. So small world. We always go to Raglan Road. We love, the fish and chips and things like that. But one place I'd always wanted to go when reservations came up was California Grill. And it was just perfect. I mean, just the service, the view, going out, having the sushi. I mean, it was wonderful. We always try and hit Whispering Canyon. It's always a bit corny, but it's still, great food. And as long as obviously they're not passing around ketchup like they used to because they don't want anybody to touch it anymore. You don't get 20 ketchups at your table anymore. But yeah, I'm trying to think. See, California Grill. Where else do we go?
A city.
Oh yes. Now I hate because I'd heard so much about it. I don't know if you got a chance when you were down there because I know you've been trying, but I wasn't as impressed with them. Maybe we just ordered the wrong things. It wasn't their service was fine. It's a very nice location and thing like that. But especially definitely a sports bar. But my biggest disappointment is Ricky was talking about that twice time of cupcake. The one you open up and it's got a Mickey inside.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't stand in line for it, but I really wanted that one. But yeah, we, it seems like we ate 3 or 4 different times a day with restaurants. But yeah, I mean, just gotta, because like that California Grill, it hadn't been open and then suddenly it was. So I recommend listeners just keep checking. You just never know. Keep checking, things open up.
I'm with you on the Twice Upon a Christmas cupcake, whatever it's called, Twice Upon a Cupcake or Twice Upon, I don't know, Ricky or who knows, but it's a green cupcake on the outside. But I will tell you, when I was there last weekend, it was a goal of mine to try these holiday snacks, and I saw it. There was a cast member standing outside the bakery on Main Street, USA, and he had a tray that had the cupcake. Now I don't know if the cupcake it probably was fake. It's probably just like a dummy stuck to the tray, but he's standing there and just like taunting everybody to come in and get this cupcake. But I'm an ice cream guy. Like, I love my ice cream, and the plaza's not open right now, but I did find good ice cream back in Tomorrowland at Anti-Gravity. So I forego, I gave up on the cupcake. I kind of regret it now, but I had a good brownie sundae.
And I think that's a problem watching, listening to you and Ricky and watching DFB and all the food. I'm like, there wasn't enough time to experience all the food. So, because so many neat drinks and cupcakes, I'm still going to get my peanut butter and jelly milkshake one day at prime time because I didn't have time for that. So yeah, but the great thing is it's always a reason to go back and start planning. But we are going to Aulani for a couple of days in January, just because that's what's great when you need your Disney fix in Hawaii. You can get up to Aulani because they reopened that on 1 November. So
good deal. I'm glad people are out to Hawaii just in general. I know that I heard one of the islands is kind of scaling back a little bit because of the COVID situation, but
well, Japanese are probably our biggest, folks and they go to Aulani like crazy. I would say over 50, maybe even more are from Japan that go to Aulani. So they're not coming right now. They can, but then they have a 14-day quarantine when they go back. So they haven't really come back to the island. So, but Aulani's already busy. They're doing a lot of specials for the locals, what they call Kamaaina. So late, for the locals, and it's thriving. So I saw someone on your message board that was going, and that's great. And definitely support the mouse, so we don't have to lay off any more folks. Yeah. So I'll keep supporting, but appreciate everything you do. And like as we talked earlier, thank you for the show you guys did last weekend and raising all that funds. That was great.
I appreciate it. Very, very lucky to get it. Hang on. There we go. We're just very, very lucky to get to do what we do. We're honored to be asked to go down to Give Kids the World and work with Magical Wishes for Kids. So we're super excited for our listeners rallying together with us there. Now, let me ask you one thing before we get out of here, because you have this unique perspective. So you're traveling all the way from Hawaii to Florida. Now, I did just see in the news, and we're recording this on Monday, yesterday, that Orlando International Airport announced twice a week service from Orlando to Hawaii.
Yeah, on Hawaiian Airlines. I know.
That's got to be a long
yeah, I just got the link. Yeah, probably about like 10 hours. But it's funny. I just got the link and I sent it to my husband and my son. And my husband's like, oh, yeah, I saw that yesterday and they're having a sale till today. And I'm like, what? And we haven't bought tickets yet. So, we'll see. I'm already looking at dates going, oh, how can we make this work? But we'll see. It's never, I don't know. I think they kind of want to wait till COVID to mask. I mean, it does make it a challenge. I could never go there in the summer like you and Paige did with the wearing those during August. I think that would have killed me.
It was hot.
Because now you can't drink water even in line. You can't even pull down your mask to drink water. So if you're in line an hour and a half and you can't drink water, that's tough.
Well, I would, I guess I'm a rule breaker because I would just pop it up and just take a little sip. Because
we were rule breakers too, but you try and be good.
I'd rather have me, take a little sip there. I think that is one that the people not to take their masks off and stand in line and have a big gulp or something.
I figured they want me to pass out or they want me to take a drink of water. So
exactly. Exactly. So let me ask you the last question, because you have that unique perspective coming all the way from Hawaii. Maybe folks are coming from Washington State, California, Arizona, and obviously they don't have quite as distant to go, but I mean, it's a commitment. So what tip have you learned that helps making the travel easier? Because, you guys make it sound like, I'm in Missouri, like Walt Disney World's in my backyard. So what's it like for you guys? What have you learned to help out with that travel?
Well, they don't feed you on planes anymore. I'm sure you know that. So for those long flights, especially those with children, make sure you bring snacks. Make sure you have all that with you, because they're really good about giving you wipes and stuff like that to sanitize. But on some of the shorter flights, the 2 or 3 hour flights, they won't even give you water. I mean, they don't even get up. I mean, they're like, oh, for your safety, and I'm like, really? I can't have water. So the only good thing is, because being in Hawaii, we've traveled a lot going back and forth, that I'm going to be a United 1K member here. So I've been getting a lot of free upgrades to first class because the planes have been pretty empty. So I'm not sure how much longer that'll last. But yeah, just it's not the normal. And what's sad is the airfares aren't any cheaper, but you're not getting near as much service as you did. Right. So yeah, so those with young families, please make sure, like I said, you're like you're going camping or something, because you're not going to get a lot of service that way.
All right. Well, Catherine. I'll try this again. I don't know what's going on.
I
know. This is killing me. It's because we're so far away. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Catherine, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so great talking to you out in Hawaii. And I got to say this before we get out of here. I love talking to other great Disney fans. This has been so much fun. But thank you for your service to the country. I know your husband, yourself, and I know that your son works in law enforcement, and those who serve the rest of us, especially here in 2020, we need to make sure we stop and say thank you. And on behalf of my family, please, thank you for all you've done for us.
I appreciate it. And thank you for everything that you guys do, and keeping me to, keep dreaming of my next trip and stuff. So it's awesome. Keeps me going. And you get listened to everywhere. Trust me, from driving to Oklahoma to Hawaii, everywhere. You've been listened to all over the world. So
that is amazing. I never thought it would go past my basement. So there you go. Thanks again, Catherine. I sure appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. So that's going to do it. And I'll do the post thing, because I don't know why that's feeding back like that. I'll get that here in a second. But yeah, thanks so much. And I appreciate you carving some time out of your afternoon, because I know it's probably busy. So
no, I didn't let anybody know I do. As you know, not everybody understands our obsession. So
I know, like, you do what? You talk about what?
I know.
More than 2 times. Like, I've talked about it 1,900 times. What?
But then you'll find someone and they're like, hey, I know this person's another Disney fanatic. Or you'll find like a sticker on a car or a sign on a door.
Yeah, license plate or something. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, mine says, it's spelled out phonetically, Mickey, but it's, EM. And I know people must be back there going, what does that say?
Yeah, see, my license plate to say BOGP. Like, this is.
Yeah, you're advertising.
And the thing is, I wonder because I drive a Jeep. Okay, right. So I mean, I'm wondering if they think it says like BO, like body odor. Jeep.
Yeah.
They're probably like, that's a stinky Jeep. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. No, true people know. Don't worry, because they know. Us fans, we're all over. So anyway, you guys keep going. It's great. I think what is it, 14 years or whatever? I think you've been. So
in March. Yep, 13 in
yep.
March.
You'll be on episode 2000 soon.
If you ever need anything, you just give me a yell.
All right. Enjoy that, Missouri. Enjoy that snow.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Have a good one out
You
there.
too. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.